Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Dollar Index and Currency Market Commentary. You're speaking with Nick McDonald. I'm going to stick with the theme here of starting with a top-down approach. We just did the same thing on stock markets. I'm just going to go and do that now, starting with the Dollar Index on the monthly. So if we were to go back into a longer-term trend, resuming a longer-term trend once the news out of Europe is kind of clarified. I don't know how long that will be, but once that's clarified, my viewers will come back into the longer-term trends. That would mean stock markets continue up, which is my belief, and US dollar would continue down. However, that needs to I always have this view in my mind of what I think will happen, but I also like to look at the charts and look at what is actually happening. And we've got a bit of conflict here between what's happening on stock markets, where they do look bullish and looking like continuing the longer term uptrend on say the Russell 2000 and other equity markets. However, when we look at the dollar index here, this actually doesn't confirm bearishness. So what have we got here? Well, we had this move down, we pulled back about 38%, we actually showed some signs of rejection. But then what we had here in November was actually a bullish candle. Now we're into December. It actually hinges a little bit on this candle because a candle on its own doesn't really mean much. So the month of November doesn't mean a lot. But ultimately, even though we've got 77 marked in here as a key level, ultimately what we really now have is the high and low for the month of November. Any break up through the high of November, that's just marking the exact high of that candle, any break up through that high would actually be bullish and looking like continuing higher, and any break down through the low would be bearish. Now in candle terms, some might call this an inside bar or an inside candle, or there's probably a bunch of other names for it. I'm not a big fan of names of things. However, we had this previous candle which engulfed it. Now we've got an inside candle here which is engulfed by that previous candle, and then this candle, the current month, it'll be really bullish or bearishness will be dictated on whether we break up through the high or down through the low. So looking at the monthly chart, it's hard to say. We're in that longer term downtrend. If the stock markets get back into uptrend, the probability here is it'll break down. But right now, it's kind of a wait and see. We do have some resistance at 80. If we broke back up, then 82 would be the next kind of key level. That's more clear on a weekly chart, so we'll go and have a look at that now and look at where might we run into any kind of problems. So on the downside, obviously here we've got 77 as well. So on the closest point to downside is 77. This is really, really strong at 77. So any move down to 77 would be likely to find some support. However, if we look to the upside, we've got a little bit at 80 and then we've got more up at 82. Thing is here, which way does this go next? Is it likely to go up or down? Well, we've run into this bit of resistance up here at 80 in recent times, and we've just come close to that now. So what we actually had done was we put in higher highs, we pulled back, made a higher low, we've come up, and the question now is, are we making a lower high here, or is this just a red candle and a longer term move up? So if we start to now break down through, this is a weekly candle, remember, so if this week's candle breaks down through the lows there, and the lows are right at 78, so if we break down through 78, we'll be confirming a lower high, and if we break down through the low of that candle, therefore I think we'll actually be coming down and potentially testing 74. That will confirm that bearishness and be moving back into some alignment with the stock market. However, if we break up through that high, then actually I'd be expecting to come up and test 80, probably not find too much resistance at 80 on this next test, and be coming up to 82. So again, just like we had a monthly candle, which we needed to see a break of the high or the low to confirm bullish or bearishness, it's exactly the same here on this weekly candle. A break down through the low, and I'd be expecting to come down and test 74, and a break up through the high, I'd expect it to be coming up and testing 82. So actually it depends on which way this weekly candle breaks, whether we break up or down. However, when we come down to the daily chart, we actually have what I think will be a bullish move. So we've got a nice pullback into the averages, we've got a bullish candle, if and only if we can break up through the high of this candle before breaking the low. So if we can break up through around about 78.90, if we can break up through there, then I think we will come up and at least test 80. And like I said on the weekly chart, if we get up to that level, it actually looks like it should break and be moving up to more like 82. So this looks bullish, but if and only if it breaks that high. If it breaks down through the low of that week, then bear in mind the low of this candle will be the equivalent of breaking down through the low of this weekly candle. It'll be breaking down through the low of the week, and then it will be looking bearish. So it ultimately comes down here to the breaks of a few different candles on the weekly chart, a break up through the high or low, and it will be dictated here by what happens very early in the week, because as soon as we've broken up through the high of this daily candle, we'll be looking bullish, and we'll also be looking then like threatening to break up through the highs of the week, which will be up around the highs of these candles. If we break down through the low, then we'll be looking bearish. So I'm watching this very, very closely, and in fact any breakdown through those lows could provide some good trading opportunities, because in and around 7,800 we do actually have some decent support and resistance when we come right down to a daily chart. So I'll be looking for a breakdown through it, any pullbacks to it for potential short trades. Now I won't just go short on a breakdown through, but I'll be looking for trades around that level, and if we break down through it, then I'll be certainly looking to join what I believe will be a bearish move if we can break down through 7,800. However, if we break up through the high of that candle first, then we've got a nice clean run up to at least 80, and there's a nice little bullish move there, so potential move up between kind of 78, 90 up to 80 looks pretty good. And then if we do that and break up through last week's highs, then actually we could be looking to join that run for a more like a move up towards 82. So there's a couple of different scenarios there, and there is quite a lot of uncertainty there in the dollar index. However, at least there's some definitive levels and definitive trading options there, and I don't know whether this will go up or down. I am swaying slightly to the downside, but would be just as happy to be trading long here. I need to see very early, and it will be dictated probably on Monday, if not certainly by Tuesday or Wednesday, whether we break up through the high of this candle or down through the low. And very early as well, I expect we do the same on the weekly chart. We've broken up through the high or the low, and if once we do that and we've got confirmed direction then on the daily and the weekly chart, we certainly have some trading direction for the shorter term, and we're still just going to need to wait a little bit longer to see which direction this monthly candle breaks, and whether or not we get a bullish move up or down based on the monthly chart as well. Hope that helps everybody. Happy trading. Speak to you on next week's update.